Starting in five, four, three, two, one. Alrighty. We are here with episode 7 of In the Bricks podcast. I'm joined by, go ahead and introduce you guys yourself. Garrett.
Garrett.
Garrett's
Harold.
here. Harold's here. And then we have our special guest here. Special guest, that's your cue. Fashionable. So let's go ahead and I'm really excited about this podcast today. This is our first time that we've had it's not our first time that we've had a special guest on the podcast. It's our first time that we've had a special guest that's remote. So we will have some technical difficulties, I can tell you guys that much. But trial and error, you know what I'm saying? We live and we learn. So um let's go ahead and get started, shall we?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
guys excited or what?
I'm very excited.
Pumped.
You're pumped.
Yeah.
Pumped. All right, Shane. So, since you are our special guest, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about you. So you started off as an undez? Right. Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I bet. I
Now,
bet there is.
are you attached to a squadron now, or are you attached to a ship? Do they still do that?
I am attached to a ship. So I am currently serving on the Ford, and I'm in the aircraft intermediate maintenance department.
Wow.
Now, can you explain like being attached to a ship versus being attached to a squadron? Is that how your seashore rotation works, or how does that?
Of course. No. So both being a squadron, depending on which squadron you go to, could be like a rag squadron is a shore duty, but a regular squadron, like the squadron I was in, HSC 11, that was a sea duty rotation. Those are the deployable squadrons. They'll go on LHDs, carriers, and they'll
So,
be forward deployed. And so it's really hit or miss with both. Like it really depends on where you go.
yeah. Hey man, that's the life of an adventurer right there, am I right?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I mean, I've met a lot of like undes, especially when I was in Yokosuka, and a lot of them were saying like it's a lot of fun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of interesting people. You get to see a lot of interesting places. I definitely say I choose the squadron life over being attached to a carrier. It's a little bit more tight knit and family oriented being in a
Right.
squadron. But the carrier life is definitely interesting, and I think every sailor or anyone in the military that has a chance to go on a warship should definitely do it and definitely see what it's like, especially being on America's newest and the world's biggest warship, which is the Ford. It's been quite the experience.
That's pretty cool.
Hey man, what happens in the boiler room?
Hey, we don't talk about that, all right?
Oh shit.
Now, do you guys still do sewing and make the bags and all that stuff?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you guys still do a lot of sewing and make those custom bags? When I was in the parachute riggers made cool bags and stuff and they sewed and all that other
Yeah, you're
stuff.
talking about like the sewing of like the bags for the parachute riggers and stuff.
Yeah, so we do that. We'll make I mean, we'll very rarely will you see us fabricate like actual survival equipment. I think the only time that we have in one of our inspections where it requires us to sew is if like the Velcro is falling off of a like a life preserver. We'll call it a horse collar, which is a LPU-32, and that's for transport. It's not exactly what do you call it? If we have like a visitor coming on or someone's getting lifted off on like a cod or on a helo, they're coming in and they're not really like part of the air crew or pilots. They'll wear what's called an LPU-32. And during one of those inspections, that's really the only time that we actually have to sew something. Usually nowadays, the civilians are the ones that are working with all the parachutes and doing all the parachute stuff. But
Right. I
yeah,
feel like
we
that's
still
what they
sew.
do a lot. They take I thought it was really just medical too, is they take a lot of the jobs that active duty is doing and they're just giving it to civilians now.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, oh, well, we don't need you to do your job anymore. We'll just give it to a what do they call them? GSs, right?
Yeah, like the contracted
Yeah,
guys
like
that
the
yeah.
contractors.
Now, do they
Yeah,
have I'm sorry, they have civilians on the ship with you?
it really depends. If we're doing like a workup and they're still like testing some of the equipment, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, so I'll keep it as vague as possible. If we're not forward deployed, I have seen civilians go underway with us, and they're working on some of the systems and stuff, especially because it is, in the grand scheme of things, a carrier that was laid in 2013 and launched in 2017. That's very new, especially in the age of the Navy. So of course, like some of the systems, and of course, like the Ford has like the new advanced arresting gear system and the email system. So I have seen a lot of contractors on board doing a lot of like maintenance work and testing and stuff like that. But when we're forward deployed, I've never seen a contractor or a civilian guy come out and do stuff.
Yeah.
So my last deployment, which was carried out in the Adriatic and the Eastern Med. That was when the whole Gaza-Israel thing popped off.
Right.
Very unfortunate, especially for the sailors on board.
Right.
Well, I shouldn't say that, but it was we did have a 90-day extension and it almost a 90-day, and we were like, God, man, we were this close to home. Probably we were a day away from hitting a port, and they were like, nope.
But turn your asses around.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly.
Shane. I ask a lot of questions because it's just your job and everything you're doing is so fascinating. And thank you for everything. The one other question I have for you is being on another ship and then going to the Ford, who's like the top of the line. How are the luxuries, or how is it living on another ship and then going to the Ford, who is the top notch, just in the sea and doing sea trials and just starting out? How's that different from other ships that you've been on?
So I've only been CVN based, which is carrier
Right.
nuclear carrier vessel nuclear. That's CVN. I've only been CVN platform. All of my deployments have been on a carrier, and there's not much difference when it comes to like luxuries and crew living, there's really not much of a difference between your Nimitz class and your Ford class carriers.
Mhm.
Being on the Truman was very not much different from being on the Ford and living on the Ford. It's the same racks, it's the same galleys, it's the same food. It's
They have a
it's
Starbucks, right?
every ship has a Starbucks,
Get
Dude,
out
believe
of
it or
what
here.
not.
the fuck?
Yeah,
Come on now. You guys are screwing
Damn,
with me,
bro.
aren't you?
No, they actually have a Starbucks.
Do they
Yep.
really?
it's
Yeah.
not really a Starbucks. Starbucks will give us their coffee grounds, and then our, our
Your
RS, our retail
CSs?
specialists.
Yeah.
No, it's the RSs.
No
They don't
shit.
make the coffee. Yeah, and you still have to pay for it too. You can get like the free galley coffee, which is like Folgers in a cup or Maxwell House, and it's always burnt and just crap. And then you'll
That's just gas right there.
yeah,
That's
pretty
gas.
much. The only thing that's gas is going to be coming out of your ass
Yeah,
5 minutes
for
after you
real,
take a
dude.
sip.
You shitting bricks, dude. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what was your favorite deployment so far?
Oh, it had to be my last deployment, man. We called it the what was it? Port hopping party barge. That's what that was the deployment because we were hitting everywhere. We were going to let's see, we went to Norway, we went to Oslo, Norway,
Ooh.
and
Ooh.
then before that actually we did
That
what's
sounds
called an
pretty cool.
employment,
Yeah.
which is like a mock deployment. We went to Nova Scotia, Canada. We went to Portsmouth, England, and then of course it's like a 2-hour train ride to London. So I like to call the UK just London because that's
Yeah.
all that really matters over there, right?
That's true. Name a different country in the UK or name another prefecture. You can. It's just London.
Are
You mean
on
city?
Facebook? No.
Well, everyone there is from London.
I should go live on Facebook. Huh?
Yeah, your mom was just asking.
Oh, is
that.
she bitch it? Give me 1 second.
Oh, I didn't know if you wanted to join the TikTok. I see it right there. Let me get you. There you go.
Yeah. Let me get
Now
you.
I think people can hear you.
There you go. Okay. Yeah,
Good
let
to
me
go?
see your phone real quick. I'm gonna go live on yours. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Not on TikTok. I have that muted.
Okay. Cool.
TikTok chat. Can you guys hear In the Bricks? Say something real quick.
La 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 la. You guys should have heard like 30 minutes before the podcast even started. We're just sitting here saying la 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 la, trying to
Yeah,
get
we're
this
all
shit to
freaking
work.
out because we can't get the
Yeah,
mics
1, 2,
going
3
right.
testing like a million times.
Oh my goodness. It was
Anna
nuts.
says they can hear you. So
Okay, cool, perfect. Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, we're literally sitting here and we're just like trying to get this all to work. This is our first time doing a remote podcast. So the amount of pain, I think me and Shane were sitting here for like it had to be like 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
just about, yeah. I think we started at around
Like
like
at 3.
1500.
Yeah, it was fucking nuts. Like we're sitting here trying to get this shit to work.
Very tedious.
Yeah, it was very tedious work. And Streamlabs sucks. Like it's terrible.
But I thought it was
Yeah,
supposed to be
looking up like
convenient.
10 YouTube videos. We're like, hold on, wait, let me try this.
Spartacus says stolen
Easy to
valor. What's up with
use.
that, man? It's crazy work.
Stolen valor, that's crazy.
I know,
That's
right?
all right.
There's an echo. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave and then I'm gonna go on Facebook Live because I don't want to echo. Or maybe that works too. I don't know.
It says the
Echo.
podcast is not working when I try to join it. That's what Chevy said.
It's live. I know that a lot of people have been having that issue where when you join, it says like they can't connect. Just try leaving and coming back in because it says that we're live right now. But anyway, yeah, this, like I said, technical difficulties, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that's the name of the game for today.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. So I don't know if you guys heard about it in the news. You guys probably did. I think everybody's heard about it so far. Excuse me. So a couple days ago, there was a plane and a helicopter crash in the Ronald Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, I think it was 63 people ended up losing their lives total. It was a Black Hawk Army helicopter and an American Eagle Skyliner. ended up colliding. Um, Usually it's supposed to be a normal training exercise for this helicopter. I think the ceiling was 200 feet, and they ended up surpassing that ceiling to go to 300 feet, and they ended up colliding with the airliner. Um, Sad news. Sad news. What do you guys think about it?
Well, I'll reach out to Shane. Have you in your helicopters? You guys do night ops, and you are you guys in charge of the night vision goggles and stuff?
I can say I can't really say from a PR standpoint being in a squadron, because I have not been a PR in a squadron. I was an undesignated airman in the line shack. 310 for life out there for all my guys that are out there. 310 for life. I love it. But I can't. Yes, the PRs are in charge of the night vision goggles, but all the testing and all of the stuff comes from an AIMD or an FRC, which is outside of the squadron. When it comes to the actual helicopter, the past few months have been unprecedented times when it comes to military aviation,
Mhm.
between the Gettysburg incident that happened with one of the Truman's F-18s, and
Right.
now with an Army Black Hawk over Washington, D.C. just days after the inauguration. It's very different. It's very weird. Helicopters are very sensitive. You can, like, the slightest movement will move it. That I know. So it's very weird to me, and I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's
I'm at a
there's
loss for words, and I'm just praying for those families and their friends, and
I
for
think
the
we
survivors.
all are. We
Yeah.
all are. It's a devastating thing. You mentioned about the Truman. Can you tell us a little bit more? I'm not sure. I don't have what happened with the Truman.
So the DoD still hasn't released much as to
I
what
think they're still
happened.
investigating it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever you can tell us. Yeah, I mean, we don't want you to jeopardize anything.
OPSEC, no, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, no
OPSEC. Of
course. Yeah, I think they're
So
still investigating it, right?
yeah, I think there's still investigation. The DoD and the DON
Yeah.
has still not released a lot of information regarding the incident, but and you can go view this and look this story up for yourselves. Don't take our words for it. But according to military.com, what had happened was the USS Gettysburg, which is a cruiser, shot down in an active friendly fire an F-18, part of the squadron attached to the carrier air group on board the United States Truman. Both pilots. Oh shit, I
I
forget
think
what
they
the
ejected.
yeah,
They
they ejected.
ejected.
They're fine.
Yeah.
They're good. They're safe, and
Good,
that's
good.
good. And I'm happy for that. And thank God for those PRs that backed those
No,
shoots. That it just goes to show it's like another. It's just another thing to shove into a PR's face, is like, hey, this is why your job is so important, and it just really goes to show it's like
Absolutely.
Yeah.
anything could happen. Anything can happen. And so I'm happy that those pilots are safe and sound and getting to be with their families, especially for Christmas, because I think it just happened right before Christmas. So
But you
I'm
know
very
what?
happy for that.
You know what bewilders me is, I mean, through my whole entire military career, it was always, these are very sophisticated machines. Like my staff sergeant would always say, like, oh, we could shoot a mortar into that window that's 2 clicks away, and it's on the dot. You know what I'm saying? But then we have incidents like these where it's like it almost makes you question the credibility of the machines that we use. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'll look on the flip side of that. I read in the, on online, and
Mhm.
all these commanding officers are getting fired
Yeah.
because they lose confidence in their authority
Yeah.
to lead. And then you look at an incident like that, and who pushed the button or who gave the order
Right.
to shoot that plane down, because somebody had to be responsible.
Right. It just sometimes it just doesn't make sense to me, like especially with the incident with the Black Hawk. Like Shane was saying, it's a very sensitive vehicle, you know. Um you could look at videos as far as the visibility aspect of a helicopter compared to a plane, and it's like, how do we let these mistakes happen?
Yeah.
You know?
And this crew was pretty experienced.
Yeah, yeah. Like, how is this continuing to happen? It blows my mind. It really does.
It
You
really
know?
is. It's very mind-boggling. With years of experience in the naval aviation community, in my 7 years of service, I've never heard of anything like this. You hear of like, planes hitting the flight deck and shit going wrong, or planes dropping fuel tanks in the water, like minor mishaps. Which I shouldn't say minor mishaps, but
Right.
nobody's life is really in danger.
Hmm.
Um, I've never heard anything like this. A Black Hawk helicopter crashing into a transport, which, by the way, its call sign was Pat 25, which is priority air transport, which means
Mm.
they were carrying something pretty good. And I'm not gonna have too much of an opinion. Obviously, I'm still active duty,
Mm.
and my thoughts and my opinions do not reflect DoD or DON. But based off my experience, it's very peculiar, and I don't understand how something like that could happen.
Right.
When it comes to the Gettysburg, it had to have been a failure at multiple steps, because those automatic locking systems, yeah, they can be manually overdriven, but they're pretty much automatic and computerized. So
Right.
I don't really understand whether it was a failure with the IFF, or a failure with the locking system, or failure at the TAO,
Right. We'll
or the
just never
person.
know. We'll never know, you know.
Well,
Until,
I'm
yeah,
sure.
I'm
exactly.
sure they
Until the
know,
DoD
but
releases something.
No.
yeah, I'm sure we know, but they're never gonna say it to the public, like, hey, yeah, like this guy fucked up.
Yeah.
Garrett, what do you
I'm
think?
sure in 60 years they'll release the files like they just did.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just like they did with the Kennedy files
Yeah.
and
Blew up
shit.
a $30 million
Yeah,
aircraft.
let's let it blow over. Let's let people forget about it, and then we'll release it in like 30
Yeah.
years when people will actually start to care. Yeah, yeah, crazy shit. Shane, we will be your voice of reason as far because I know that you can't comment too much on uh military things because you're still active duty. Um, I'm not so much of a conspiracy guy, okay? I'm really not.
Yeah.
But if you look at the political headlines, what just ended like 3 days ago? What do you guys know? DEI. Trump
Okay.
put an end to DEI, right? So that's one thing. Trump ended DEI. Immediately after the DEI, they shut it down. They said no more. What happens after that? Oh, well, we only had one air traffic controller because of the DEI. So that's why it happened. So I believe that a lot of these incidents that are happening is not due to mistake, it's politically incentivized, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's the first thing. The first thing that Trump did and Hegseth did said the Biden administration fucked up, and it's all on the. I and you guys are too young to uh, hear this, but when I was in the service, the commander in chief is the ultimate. He's responsible for everything.
Right.
The DOD, the Secretary of Defense is responsible. No more do any of these people come out and say, I take responsibility for
My action.
my actions or my group's actions. It was this guy, it was that guy that did it.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks, because and I'll say it to Shane, and maybe you'll agree with me or maybe not, but this guy, when Biden's president, they're the commander in chief. They give an order, we obey their orders. We don't pass blame past them. Oh, it was the other administration. It was this. It was that. No.
So it's the pointing of the fingers.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
point the finger and it wasn't me. It wasn't my
Yeah.
administration. that
It's
did
almost
that.
like there's no honor behind their actions anymore.
Absolutely.
It's always I didn't fucking do that shit. You did.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can see that in politics, if I may interject just a little
Yeah.
bit. And like I said, I try to stay out of politics, and I try to keep my political opinion Definitely not public.
Yeah.
However, I will say this: I could not imagine any sort of department of whatever jeopardizing military assets and military personnel for the act of a political statement. Whether it comes to like an active protest for DEI or it comes to an active protest for whatever, the new president, the new administration, I could not imagine that they would just drop almost a $40 million aircraft and then millions of dollars worth of training and everything that they put into their personnel, especially military wise, which is very apolitical. I could not imagine that they would sacrifice that for a political statement, especially when in today's day, I mean, what Congress literally said aliens existed and the public was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like the nowadays public and the new generation of Americans just don't really care. So I could not imagine, if this was back in the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s maybe, but nowadays I couldn't imagine people's lives being put at stake for a political statement or as an act of protest.
Yeah, I think it's more about like
I hope in my heart it was just whether it is or whether it's not. I hope in my heart it was just an accident.
Yeah.
Whether it be that or not.
Garrett, what were you saying?
It was definitely an accident, but it's also negligence, and I think that's where the conspiracy lies of like who was at fault and like.
Right.
That's where they're conspiring, basically, because there's definitely like a string of like negligent decisions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Shane, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard the negligence.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, the Navy pours millions, and I don't mean thousands or hundreds of thousands. I mean millions of dollars to training a singular sailor, soldier, aviator, pilot, whatever.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't imagine DON, especially with the recruiting crisis. Sorry, I didn't mean to have a lisp there. Especially with the recruiting crisis, I couldn't imagine they would be willing to sacrifice military lives, period, but military lives especially.
Definitely not.
Not putting that over the average American citizen's life, or saying that like military lives.
Here's my thing, Shane. Here's my thing. So I was talking to my battalion commander. We were on deployment, and I asked him what are the struggles of being a CO, and he gave me a very honest truth, and it still sticks to me to this day. Is he has a very hard time with if we're at war or we're in a position of discontent. It's his job to send the 2 PFCs or 2 Lances over the hill to check out what's going on, regardless of what might happen to them. That's still his role. So like even now, like with the Blackhawks or the shit that's going on overseas, I'd love to say that the COs and the generals and the commanders care, but at the end of the day, like we are expendable. You know what I'm saying? Like they have no problem sending us over the hill to make sure that they meet their goal, and that's it.
Right, but this isn't World War II, man.
Right.
Like we're not fighting Nazi Germany. So I don't really think, and this is my personal opinion, please take it with a grain of salt. I don't really think there's CEOs out there that are like, fuck it, let me send PFC fucking Schmuckatelli up over the hill and get shot in the face just to know if the enemy's over there. Between the technology and the amount, just how much America has on their side, the American soldier is not as expendable as it has been. Thank God for that.
Right.
Everyone is very useful. I can confirm this, on the entire ship of the USS Ford. The entire ship, there are 6 people in charge of making sure that, myself included, in charge of making sure that all of the safety equipment, survival equipment, parachutes, ejection seats, life rafts, breathing oxygen, anything that has to deal with survival in the aircraft. There's only 6 people that are ensuring that is okay.
Right.
take one away and we're definitely crippled. So
Right.
I refuse to believe that we're expendable as we used to be. It's not World War One. It's not World War Two anymore. Whether it be
You know what,
negligence,
Shane?
whether it be
I totally agree with you.
mismanagement, whether it be lack of training, who knows? I just refuse to believe that it's because, and let me go off on another tangent, if I may, real quick. There's so many more people in charge of what happens in military operations. You have your commanders, you have your, obviously you have your skippers, your commanders, you have your TICOMs, you have your fleet commanders, you have your admirals, you have so many different steps and lines of permissions before it even reaches POTUS, the Pentagon, anything, that people are making decisions right there, boots on the ground. And I just cannot believe that my skipper or any skipper would be like, hey, you know what? Let's just fucking throw a fucking
Right.
Black Hawk helicopter in front of a moving aircraft as an act of protest for DEI. I couldn't imagine that. I think I have to believe it's negligence, mismanagement, lack of training,
Right.
something.
Right. Dad, what were you gonna say?
No, I agree 100% with what Shane's saying.
Mhm.
I don't think that, in a litigious society that we're in, nobody's gonna throw somebody at the mercy of the enemy. Um, we're very calculated. We have very intelligent leadership. But
Absolutely.
one thing I do see is, with getting rid of DEI and new policies, new procedures, it puts a lot more stress on our leadership,
Right.
because we don't know, or they don't know, what is the policy or what's not the policy. As far as with the DoD mandates, they're getting into, let's get rid of DEI, but like Hegstead said, I'm all about the war fighter, and that needs to be
Absolutely.
made clear to the generals that the new leadership is not about transgender, this or that, LGBTQ, DEI, whatever. It's more about fighting wars
Right.
and being the world's superpower, and I think we need to get back to that.
I'll say this, and not a lot of people are gonna agree. Um, the last time that we've had a plane crash this public, I can't even remember. Um, and the only thing that I could think in my head is that politics is volatile. Politics is very volatile, especially the way that our country is formed right now. It is divided like never before. So for me to say that almost confidently to say that this was a politically motivated event, yes, 100%. I could see how it's a politically motivated event. Could it have been an accident? Yes, but if you look at the timing and you look at the almost the environment that we're in right now as a country, I mean it's kind of like it's
Self-conscious
yeah,
a
it's like
little.
it's there, it's in our faces, it's right there. It's always a political agenda to make sure that either Trump looks like an asshole, to make sure that Pete Hegseth doesn't know what he's doing. There's always a plot, and I feel like it's motivated by
I
politics.
think it's opportunity, really. Like a
Mhm.
tragedy happens, and then the media uses it as a distraction.
Right,
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah,
And take the military out of the equation. You just had a plane go down in Philadelphia,
yeah,
and something to look at is we don't have anybody in the FAA.
no,
The leader of the FAA and the
step down.
deputy chief. Those positions haven't been filled yet, and you know it's a big problem. Look at air traffic controllers. You don't have air traffic controllers, enough air traffic controllers, and now they want to fire them and, replace them with more, and there's no more in the queue to replace anybody with.
Right.
We run at a deficit every day.
Right. It's kind of like, how does this get to the point where this is happening? You know, how do we not have a head of FAA? How?
I mean, I see what you guys
Gatekeeping.
are saying. I really do. I understand and I hear it, but at the same time, when it comes to military personnel, man, they really aren't at the mercy of politics. I cannot believe that, back in the 1800s, or maybe it was it was the 1800s. Like, remember the Maine, and like they blew up. There's speculation as to whether or not America attacked its own ship with the USS Maine right off the coast of
Right.
Cuba and stuff like that. It's just
Mhm.
not like that today. And with the new JFK files that came out and said that, hey, let's blow up cities and let's create
Shit,
an
I
act
didn't know
of
about
terror.
that.
Yeah, I mean the JFK
I
files
didn't read
came
the
out, and
JFK files yet.
so did the Rosa Parks files, and so did the MLK files. They all got released. I think if it wasn't last week, it was earlier this week.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a read. Definitely worth a read. But
Holy shit.
like with like remember the Maine, and the reason why we wanted to go to war with Spain and nowadays Mexico, was because the Maine blew up, and there's speculation as to whether or not we blew up our own ship or well, whatever, but that's what happened. And but with new technology and the warfighter and how important America values their military and their military personnel, especially enlisted. And there's this old saying that says, there's this old saying in the Navy, and I heard it from one of my old officers. He was a lieutenant. He was my divo, and I have high esteem and respect for him. He said, yeah, officers might run the Navy, but enlisted make the Navy run. So from the bottom up,
The
it
deck
just
plate
goes to show.
workers.
Exactly. People working out there on the deck plates, turning the wrenches, doing
Right.
the DCPO shit that just like it might seem mindless in the moment and just shitty or just dumb or like, why
Right.
am I doing this?
But it makes the ship go.
Yeah,
Every small piece contributes to
every
a
single
larger
thing.
picture.
Exactly. From the CSs to the LSs to the PRs to the mechs, the framers to the STGs and the ISs and every single rate in between. The carrier cannot function without one singular rate that's attached to it. The military cannot run without their infantrymen. The Army, the Marine Corps cannot run without the people with the mortars laying down ground fire.
Grunts.
Every
The
single
grunts,
piece of the
man.
puzzle is so important, and I think that the government understands that. I think the higher powers that be, whether it be one world order or the United States government or acts of foreign terror or whatever, everybody understands that every piece of the puzzle is just as important as the next. So I could not believe, and I refuse to believe that.
It says that Cosmic Rose says that sentiment extends to politics too. We, the people, quote unquote, choose the politicians. Yeah.
That is true. Yes, 100%. But the military is not we, the people. And that's unfortunate. When you sign that contract, when you put your name on that piece of paper, you sign away all your liberties and freedoms to fight for the liberties and freedoms of everybody in America. And I believe that to my heart and soul, and that is reason why I myself made that choice and that decision. The war fighter is so much more different when it comes to we the people. I'm not allowed to have a political standpoint.
Right.
I'm not
You have to
allowed
stay
to
neutral.
attend protests.
Right.
Exactly.
You're a neutral figure.
And that
You
is
have to be.
And
You know,
the
you make a
military is
very
such an
good point.
apolitical organization that I could not imagine them sacrificing anything
Hold on, Shane. What
to
did
do
you say?
that.
You know what? You make a very, very good point, because I'll tell you how important the military is. If you look back at January 6th, and I don't care what side of the aisle you were on, if the military would have sided with one person, our democracy would have been over with.
Yeah.
That's how important our military is.
Right.
You need
Exactly, and I think the government understands that.
Yeah. You need your military. Your military is what keeps you running.
I think what you were saying last week on last week's podcast is whoever controls the military is in control of the country.
Exactly.
I don't think anybody controls the military, though. To be honest with you, I think the military controls the military. POTUS might be commander in chief, whatever. But like I said earlier, there are so many steps down the ladder that the military can run. I pray this never happens, but the military will run the exact same.
No, 100, and that's what
Absolutely.
it's designed. That's what it's designed to do.
Absolutely.
It's supposed to be a self-sufficient.
That's why we have all the checks and balances that we do.
Yeah, you're good, brother. Yeah, I mean, it's a self-sufficient. It's a self-sufficient force.
Yeah.
You know?
That's why we have all the checks and balances that we
Right.
do. You cannot rely on one branch of the government.
Right.
And the military is one of the most important parts because you need the military in order to do anything that you want to do.
100%.
They're very, very important.
Yeah.
Um,
Garrett, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, the military is very important for defense and security.
Yeah.
And yeah, if we were talking about any other country but America, I would probably say that, yeah, if you give money and things to the military, like private funds, if you give that to the military as like a dictator, as like a leader, then you have more security in your power.
Right.
But in the United States, we have more checks and balances. So you guys are right that like the military is its own entity, and they make the choices that they make as a system.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's a crazy world we're living in nowadays. Crazy world we're living in nowadays. The fact that the fact that I feel the way that I feel kind of makes me like, what is going on right now? Yeah, crazy shit. What's up, Chase? How you doing? Cosmic Rose, as a vet, absolutely. Once we sign, we are no longer part of the people. Yeah, I mean, you still have the right to vote, which is nice. But yeah, I mean, as far as let's see. Hey, bud, I know the disaster wasn't in your branch, but you holding up all right. Disaster. Oh, the army, like the army disaster.
The helicopter, yeah.
Yeah, that would never happen in the Navy, man.
Yeah, we just want to make sure everybody is holding up their own. It hits very close to home when you have an accident such as what's been going on over the past few days. First with the Army helicopter, then with the medevac. It really hits close to home, and you don't want to be in that deadly funnel.
Right.
So hopefully these are the only two. Just talking about the crash in Philadelphia. Can you think that people, they're saying, or they're trying not to say, but they're saying that people on the ground were pretty much vaporized by this plane crashing. If you were on the ground,
in Philadelphia?
They still don't know how many people died because if you were on the ground. Did you see the video? No, I saw a little bit of it, but if you were on the ground and that plane crashed,
it was like a nosedive into the pavement.
Yeah, and a fireball.
Yeah.
And if you were on the ground, look, there was a guy sitting in his car, a guy or girl, I don't know, sitting in the car, and they passed away because the plane crashed in the near vicinity of the plane. So it's horrific to think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think overall we need to get our shit in order as a country. We need to get our shit in order. These mishaps shouldn't happen. Yeah,
hopefully the things that Trump's doing is gonna get us back on the right track. He
Right.
seems to be a leader that's hands-on and that is attacking America's problems firsthand.
Yeah, and he's coming out to the press, on the podium and he's talking, which I was shocked, first of all. Just coming out to the podium talking to the reporters. That's a gangster move by
Yeah,
him.
4 years of Biden, we
Yeah,
never saw
we
him
never
do
saw him
that.
on the podium. Yeah, and now we see Trump on the podium, which is nice. It's a nice change up. But yeah, overall, I mean, this shit can't be happening. It can't be happening. My buddy has flown with that company before. He said that their maintenance records are bad. Are you talking about American Airlines?
What?
Fleming DEI for the DC crash, though, was insane. It's like Boeing, right? Like Boeing makes like most of the engines for the planes, right?
You want me to go?
Hmm. DC. Right.
Yeah,
Right. But even then, But even then, Shane, like think about it. Like I think it was a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, there was this big, huge like Boeing. And I'm just speaking about Boeing because it's the largest manufacturer that I know of. But do you guys remember the whistleblower from Boeing?
yes,
He was, yeah, he was like, hey,
yeah.
like our planes are fucked up. Like our engines, they're fucked. Like we shouldn't be flying them at all. I think it was like 24 or 48 hours later, the whistleblower ends up like in a trash, like a garbage bin in New York somewhere, like, and he's dead. Like, holy shit. I mean, I don't know if it's related to like the plane incidents or anything, but I mean,
Well, I think that it's like a similar problem where
yeah,
no one's doing the proper maintenance in order to cut costs and save money, and then
right.
and then people die, and then you're like, oh, I didn't know. It's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did. Whistleblower.
I got a question for Shane. Your helicopters, do you send that for like major overhauls? Do you send them back to the manufacturer, or do they go to an intermediate maintenance facility and they do that kind of stuff?
I see it. Yeah. Intricate, intricate. I got you. 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 Hmm. Right. Shane, give me 1 second. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. I'm getting text in saying that we cannot hear you. Apparently, when you left and you came back, uh, your mic cut off. So let's see if we could fix that real quick. Is it something with your end?
No.
Like we could hear you here in the studio, but we can't hear you on the stream itself.
Wonder if it's Facebook.
No. Here, let's try disconnecting and reconnecting because your mic bar, like on my deck, is like stuck in the middle. Like it's not even moving. So let's reset real quick. Yeah, I'm glad that somebody said something. Uh yeah, oh shit. Hold on.
Oh, nuts.
Let's
Huh?
go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and end the live real quick.